I was cleaning out my garage when her message came through. I didn't even know the number. It was just a random +1, buried between spam calls and a missed reminder to renew my vehicle tags. I only opened it because I thought it might be from my mechanic. But it wasn't. It was her. Kyle, it's Alora. Please don't delete this. Just read. I stood there, holding a box labeled Zmaz crap, and honestly, my hands started shaking. Not the dramatic kind of shaking you see in movies. More like that subtle tremble you feel in your wrists when your brain screams don't go back there, but your heart's already sprinting. I hadn't seen or heard from her in 15 years. 15. 1-5. That's half a damn lifetime in emotional dog years. There'd been no breadcrumbs. No apologies. Not even a forwarded letter or one of those cryptic "hope you're okay" texts people send at 3 a.m. when they're lonely and liquored up. She was gone. And then suddenly, she wasn't. I didn't reply. Not then. I did something worse. I opened her message thread, which I'd kept archived, buried under years of digital dust and self-disgust. I don't know why I never deleted it. Maybe because trauma tricks you into keeping receipts, even when you swear you've moved on. There they were. Her old messages. From back when she was still lying to me with a straight face. Stuff like, at the hotel lobby. Wi-Fi is garbage. Evan's wife almost caught us. I'm shaking. I wish you were mine and not hers. I remember reading those words for the first time 15 years ago while sitting on the cold tile floor of our kitchen. I remember the smell of burnt garlic bread in the oven. I remember the way the fridge buzzed like it was judging me. I remember how quiet betrayal sounded when it wasn't shouted. And now she was texting me from whatever life she'd built after detonating mine. Why now? What did she want? I told myself not to care. I told myself not to answer. And then, like the idiot I am, I texted back. Why now? She replied faster than I expected. He's dead, and I think I made a mistake. I dropped the box, the one with the Christmas crap in it, because somehow, those words hit harder than the original betrayal. I didn't answer her right away. I just stood there in the middle of the garage, surrounded by boxes of useless things I never unpacked after I left her, and let her message sit on my screen like it was radioactive. He's dead, and I think I made a mistake. That sentence didn't just crawl under my skin. It burrowed in and started unpacking. Evan, the married man she left me for. The man she risked everything for. The man whose shadow she let linger in every room of our house until I finally walked out the front door and didn't look back. I never even met him. All I knew was what I read in those messages all those years ago. How she described him like he was some tragic, misunderstood soul with a perfect smile and a heart too big for one woman. She never talked about how he had 3 kids, or a wife, or how she became the other woman without ever admitting it out loud. I didn't want to respond. I didn't want to ask questions. But of course I did. I typed, so what? You won. You got him. Now you're grieving? She read it instantly. 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, then came back. You don't understand. He didn't leave his wife. He never planned to. I found that out years ago. I blinked at the screen like it had glitched. Wait, what? I assumed she had followed her fantasy, married the guy, moved to a new state, started a shiny new life while I was busy scraping mine off the floor. But no, turns out she wasn't the love of his life. She was just another secret in his phone, a story that never left the hotel room. I didn't know whether to laugh or feel sick, so I laughed. One of those bitter, I knew it, laughs that taste like vinegar. And then I hit her with it. So you blew up our marriage, ghosted me for 15 years for a man who never chose you. She answered faster than before. I didn't ghost you. I thought you'd hate me forever, and I didn't know how to fix it. Fix it. 15 years later, and she thought this was something fixable? I left the garage, went inside, sat on my couch, and stared at nothing for a long time. The part that really got to me wasn't that he never left his wife. It wasn't that she was cheated on after cheating with him. It was that her first instinct, after Evan died, was to message me. Me, the man she lied to, betrayed, erased. And I realized something I'd never wanted to admit. She never reached out because she loved me. She reached out because the one man who made her feel special was gone. And now she was circling back to see if her backup plan still worked. And yeah, maybe I should have blocked her right then. Maybe I should have deleted her number and gone back to pretending she didn't exist. But instead, I said the one thing I didn't expect to come out of my own mouth. Tell me everything. I don't know why. Maybe I needed to hear how much worse it got. Maybe I wanted to watch her burn a little in the ashes of the life she chose. Or maybe, deep down, I still wanted answers to the one question I never asked. Why wasn't I enough? She replied within minutes. Then you need to know what happened the night he died, and what I found after. And just like that, she had me again. Not romantically, not emotionally, but hooked. Because no matter how much I told myself I was done with her, I wasn't done with the truth. And I had a feeling I wasn't ready for what came next. She called me. I should have ignored it. I should have let it ring and die the way she let our marriage die, quietly, without ceremony. But my thumb hovered for too long, and suddenly I heard her voice for the first time in over a decade. Older, softer, still sharp enough to draw blood. Before you hang up, she said, skipping the hello, you need to know that Evan didn't just die. He was murdered. I didn't say a word. I didn't breathe. Because the last time I'd heard her voice, she was sobbing and asking me to be reasonable after I found the photos. She was standing in our living room, wearing the same dress she'd worn to one of their business dinners, trying to convince me that it wasn't what it looked like, while his name sat at the top of her call history. Now she was calling me out of the blue, 15 years later, to tell me her affair partner was murdered? Elora, I finally said, slowly. Why the hell are you calling me with this? You think I'm going to feel sorry for you? No, she whispered. I think you're the only person who might believe me when I tell you I think his wife did it. That's when something twisted in my chest. Because in all those messages I found back then, Evan's wife was always the villain in their fantasy. Cold, distant, too focused on the kids. Elora had painted herself as the light he was drawn to. But now she was suggesting the woman he stayed with for 15 years had snapped? I shouldn't even be talking to you, she said, voice low like she was hiding in a closet. But when they questioned me, I realized how bad this could get. My stomach turned. They questioned you? I was the last person he saw alive. He texted me to meet him behind his office. I went. I didn't even think. I was stupid. I still loved him. I wanted to scream at her, to hang up, to remind her that I was the one who loved her, that she never gave me a chance to fight for us. But instead, I just listened, because something in her voice wasn't just scared. It was cracked. Off. They found his body in his car the next morning. Locked doors. Blunt force trauma. No witnesses. But here's the thing, Kyle, his phone was missing. And so was mine. Someone took it. Someone who knew where we were. Someone who wanted to make it look like I did it. The silence between us lasted too long. She waited. I didn't know what to believe. I wanted her to be lying. I needed her to be lying. But then she said the words that made my stomach ice over. And when I finally got into my email last week, after 15 years of never touching it, I found something he never meant for me to see. A folder. Hidden. Full of things about you. I sat forward on my couch like I'd been shocked. What do you mean about me? Emails. Screenshots. A photo of you. A copy of our divorce filing. He had it all saved. Like he was watching you. Like he wanted to make sure you never came back. I felt the world tilt. None of that made sense. Why would Evan care about me? He won. He had her. I was the ghost, not the threat. Unless he knew something I didn't. Unless there had been more than just betrayal going on. Elora, I said carefully. You need to send me that folder. Everything in it. Now. I already did, she said. Check your email. And Kyle, please. If I go down for this, I want someone to know the truth. Then she hung up. No goodbye. No apology. Just that heavy, unfinished silence again. And a few seconds later, my email pinged. One folder. One subject line. In case something happens to me. I didn't want to open it. But I did. And the first file was a photo I'd never seen before. Me, at a gas station, 15 years ago. Taken from across the street. And I wasn't alone in it. I was with someone I didn't even recognize. At first, I thought the image was doctored. I stared at the man standing beside me at the gas station like my brain was trying to paste a memory on top of a complete blank. He was tall, dark hair, wearing a gray jacket. Plain, forgettable. But the angle of the photo was strange. It wasn't taken casually. It was the kind of photo people take when they're following you. Framing. Watching. Waiting. The timestamp said 2009. It had been taken just 2 weeks after I walked out on Elora. I kept zooming in on the guy's face, hoping something would click. But I swear, he meant nothing to me. That's what made it worse. Because Evan had this image stored under a folder labeled Loose Threads. There were more files inside. Screenshots of old posts from online forums, fragments of comments I had written anonymously on divorce boards, copies of court filings I never made public. He had been tracking me, quietly, thoroughly, and not for Alora's sake. That's when I noticed something chilling. One of the documents in the folder wasn't about me. It was about her. Evan had requested a full background check on Alora 6 months before his death. The report was clinical, invasive, and included details I didn't even know, like the fact she'd been in contact with a private investigator around the time I left her. There were even bank transactions linked to someone named Gregory Hale. That was the man in the photo. I suddenly felt sick. Alora never mentioned anything about hiring someone back then. What was she doing? Who was she looking for? Me? Evan's wife? Herself? I couldn't tell if she was a victim or something else entirely. I closed my laptop and paced my living room like the floor was trying to shake me off. I wanted to delete the entire folder and pretend none of it happened. But I couldn't stop thinking about what she said on the phone, that she was being set up, that she found this after Evan died. So I did something I hadn't done in 15 years. I picked up the phone and called someone who used to be a mutual friend, Lena. She'd been at our wedding, had kept in touch with both of us until things fell apart. She was one of the few people who didn't pick sides, which was probably why she never reached out again. To my surprise, she answered on the second ring. "Kyle," she said, like she wasn't sure it was really me. "Yeah, sorry to drop this on you after all this time. But I need to ask you something. Did Alora ever mention someone named Gregory Hale?" There was silence, then a soft inhale. "Why would you bring him up?" I froze. "So she did mention him?" "Kyle, listen to me carefully. I don't know what's going on, but Gregory Hale wasn't some PI. He was Evan's brother-in-law. He used to do private work for Evan's family. They never said what exactly, but it was always sketchy. When Alora got involved with Evan, Gregory started showing up in weird places. I told her to be careful." "Did she listen?" Lena let out a humorless laugh. "She said she had everything under control. Next thing I know, she's gone." "You're gone." "And Gregory?" "He left town around the same time Evan's wife suddenly stopped showing up to the gym." You connect the dots. I hung up without saying goodbye. My pulse was pounding in my ears. Evan had planted someone near me. His brother-in-law had been in my orbit, watching, maybe threatening. And Alora had never warned me. Which begged the question, was she scared? Or complicit? I reopened the folder, heart racing. And that's when I saw the final document. It was a transcript. Short. Time-stamped the night Evan died. One line. From an audio message. A woman's voice. Alora's voice. "You promised she'd never find out about Kyle." That was the moment I realized this wasn't just about betrayal. It was about something buried, even deeper. Something they never wanted me to know. And now, one of them was dead. And the other had come crawling back to me. But not for forgiveness. For protection. I didn't sleep that night. I just sat in my dark living room, my laptop open in front of me, staring at the line that changed everything. "You promised she'd never find out about Kyle." I must have replayed that audio file a dozen times, listening to Alora's voice over and over, trying to convince myself I was misunderstanding it. But no matter how I spun it, one thing was clear. She wasn't just a side note in Evan's double life. She was part of something hidden, deliberate. I wasn't just collateral damage. I was relevant. And that scared the hell out of me. By morning, I was pacing like a caged animal. I couldn't go to work. I couldn't think straight. My mind kept spinning down rabbit holes. What had Evan promised? What was he hiding from his wife? And more importantly, why was I the one they needed to hide? I called Alora. I didn't bother texting. I needed her voice. I needed to hear the cracks in it. She answered after 3 rings, her voice flat, like she'd been waiting. I listened to it. I said quietly, "The recording." She didn't ask which one. She already knew. "Then you know I didn't kill him." "That's not what I said," I snapped. "But you didn't just cheat on me, Alora. You lied about what I meant to him. About what you meant to him. What the hell were you two involved in? What does this have to do with me?" She exhaled, long and slow. "I didn't want you to ever find out." I laughed bitterly. "Oh, great. That clears everything up." She spoke slowly, like she was unraveling something she'd kept knotted for years. "When I started seeing Evan, it wasn't supposed to be serious. It started like most affairs do, reckless, exciting, all-consuming. But somewhere along the way, he started using me. I didn't realize it at first. I thought I was special to him. But I found out later that he was feeding me things. Asking me about your job. About where you kept certain files. About your clients. My stomach dropped. What? You were working on that logistics contract with the Federal Port Authority, remember? The one with restricted access? Her voice shook now. He wanted details. At first, I didn't think anything of it. I thought he was just curious. But then he started asking for specifics. Routes, schedules, contacts. I felt the blood drain from my face. That job had been short-term, but sensitive. I'd signed NDAs, security briefings. I was a glorified paper pusher, but the information I handled had value, especially to the wrong people. You gave him intel, I said slowly, barely able to get the words out. I didn't know what he was doing with it. I swear. I thought I was proving myself. I didn't realize I was a pawn until it was too late. And by then, he had it all. And when I tried to pull away, he made it clear I couldn't. I collapsed onto the couch, the air punched out of my lungs. This wasn't just betrayal. It was espionage. It was illegal. And I had no idea I'd been dragged into it. Elora, why didn't you warn me? Why didn't you go to the police? He threatened to destroy you, Kyle, she said, her voice suddenly raw. He had your name on documents, your email connected to dummy accounts. If anything came to light, it would have looked like you were leaking intel, not me. That's why I left without a word. That's why I didn't try to explain. I thought the only way to protect you was to disappear. I didn't know what to say. I'd hated her for so long. I'd replayed her betrayal in my head until it was part of my DNA. But now she was telling me that her silence hadn't been abandonment. It had been self-preservation. Or worse, protection. But I still didn't trust her. Why come back now? I asked. Why dig all this up after 15 years? She hesitated. I heard the sound of a car door slamming in the background. Because someone's following me again. And I think Gregory's back. And if he finds out I sent you those files. The line went dead. Just like that. No static. No goodbye. Just silence. The same silence that started all of this 15 years ago. Only this time, I knew for sure someone was still out there. And they weren't finished with either of us. I sat there with the dead phone in my hand, staring at the screen like it owed me answers. No dial tone. No call ended. Just silence. The kind that swallows everything after a shock. I tried calling her back. Once. Twice. Straight to voicemail. I wasn't even sure what I'd say if she picked up. Maybe that I hated her. Maybe that I believed her. Maybe both. But the longer I sat there, the more something felt off. She'd sounded rushed, nervous. Her voice had shifted, right before the line cut out, like she'd seen something. Or someone. I replayed every word she said. If Gregory finds out I sent you those files. It wasn't just a warning. It was a goodbye. I grabbed my keys. I told myself I wasn't going to do anything stupid, just drive by her last known address, see if the lights were on. Just look. But I didn't make it that far. Because when I stepped outside, I stopped cold. There was a mark on my front door. A fresh one. Not paint. Not a dent. A word, scratched in with something sharp. Run. I stared at it so long I didn't notice the air had changed. The air around me suddenly felt watched. No sound of cars. No wind. No birds. Just that oppressive weight in my chest I hadn't felt since the day I left her 15 years ago. Someone had been here. And they wanted me to know it. I backed away from the door like it might explode. This wasn't paranoia anymore. This wasn't heartbreak. This was something darker. Something that had always been hiding beneath the betrayal. Whatever Evan had been involved in, it hadn't died with him. And now someone was making sure I didn't start digging. But it was too late. I already had. The word was still there the next morning. Carved into the wood. A single command. Run. I didn't sleep. I couldn't. I left the lights on all night, just pacing my hallway with a baseball bat in one hand and my phone in the other. Paranoia doesn't hit you all at once. It seeps in. Every creak in the floor became footsteps. Every parked car felt like it was waiting for me to open the front door and step into something I wouldn't walk away from. And through all of it, Elora still hadn't called back. I tried messaging her again. Nothing. I emailed. I even tried contacting the account she'd sent the files from. Gone. Wiped. Like she never reached out at all. And I knew what that meant. Either she ran again, or someone erased her. By noon, I was in my car, driving aimlessly. I couldn't stay home. I couldn't sit still. So I did the one thing I thought I'd never do again. I drove to the last place I saw her. Not her apartment, not the office where she used to work. I drove to the parking lot of that hotel. Their hotel. The one I'd found in the photos years ago. The one where she'd smiled for Evan like he was her entire world, and I was just the man who watered her plants and paid the rent. I parked across the street. I didn't know why I was there. Maybe part of me thought I'd see her. Maybe I thought this whole thing was some drawn-out performance, and she'd come out of the lobby laughing, saying, "Got you." That's what 15 years of silence gets you. But all I saw was an old building, half the neon burned out, the sign leaning to one side like it gave up years ago. And then I saw him, standing next to a silver SUV. Gray jacket, dark hair. Same man from the gas station photo. The one Evan had been keeping tabs on. Gregory Hale. I ducked. My heart shot into my throat. He wasn't looking at me, not directly. He was talking to someone. Couldn't see who, but he gestured toward the hotel like he was giving instructions. I watched him hand over a small envelope, nod once, then get into the SUV and drive off like nothing about this was abnormal. Like he hadn't just threatened my life through a scratched word on my door. I should have left it alone. I should have turned the key in my ignition and gotten the hell out of there. But I waited. I waited until the person he was talking to went back inside the hotel. I followed them. Not close, just enough to see which room they went to. I wrote the number down. Room 217. I waited in my car until the sun went down. I don't know what came over me. Maybe I needed answers more than I needed safety. Maybe I was just tired of being afraid of ghosts. But at 9:47 p.m., I walked into that hotel like I was on autopilot, past the front desk, took the stairs, and stood outside room 217 like it was a courtroom, and I was ready for sentencing. I knocked. A long pause. Then the door opened. And it wasn't Alora. It was her, Evan's wife. Older, thinner, but unmistakable. The same woman I saw in those old Facebook photos all those years ago. She stared at me for a moment like she was trying to place me. Then her eyes narrowed. "You shouldn't be here," she said coldly. "I know," I replied. "But I need to know what he did to both of us." Something flickered in her face. Maybe shock. Maybe guilt. She stepped aside and let me in. The door clicked shut behind me with a weight I wasn't ready for. I stood there in that small, dimly lit hotel room, every muscle in my body locked up, ready for anything except what actually happened next. She didn't scream. She didn't threaten. She didn't even ask how I found her. Evan's wife. Her name was Dana. Just sat down in the chair by the window, folded her hands in her lap, and said, "You deserve the truth. All of it." I didn't move. I didn't speak. I think I was scared that if I opened my mouth, I'd lose my nerve. So I just nodded. "I knew about Alora long before he died," she began. "He wasn't good at hiding things. The late nights, the perfume on his clothes, the hotel receipts. But I didn't leave. I stayed for the kids, for the illusion. But I also started watching him." She opened a drawer and pulled out a worn folder. Not digital this time, not encrypted or hidden behind firewalls. Just paper, photos, notes, receipts. She slid it across the bed. "I hired Gregory," she said. "He wasn't some shadowy operative. He was family, messy family, but he had connections. I wanted to know how far Evan's lies went. And that's when I found out about you." I stiffened. "Me?" She nodded. "He was obsessed with making sure you never came back. He tracked your job, your address, even who you spoke to after Alora left. He hated you, not because you were in his way, but because she still loved you." Those words hit harder than I wanted to admit. "She never stopped asking about you," Dana continued. "Even when she stayed with him, even when she should have moved on, she kept tabs on you. And I think Evan knew that deep down, he would never have her completely." I sat down slowly, the weight of 15 years crashing down all at once. "But he didn't die because of Alora," she said, looking straight at me. "And not because of me. He made enemies doing things neither of us fully understood. That night, it wasn't a crime of passion. It was a message. And Gregory, he's not behind it either. He's been trying to protect what's left of our family's name." I finally found my voice. "So why warn me? Why now?" "Because Alora's missing," Dana said quietly. "And you're the only person she might still trust if she's alive." I froze. "She left me a letter," she continued. "Said if anything ever happened, she'd sent you the truth. And if she was lucky, you'd know what to do with it." I stared down at the folder. Everything I needed to finally close the wound was inside. But that wasn't what made my chest tighten. It was the realization that she'd never stopped trying to fix what she broke. Not really. Even if she vanished, even if I never saw her again, she had tried to make it right. I left that room different. I didn't have all the answers. I didn't know if I'd ever see Alora again. But for the first time in 15 years, I wasn't stuck in the past. I wasn't a broken man defined by betrayal. I went home, changed my locks, painted over the scratch on my door. I got a new phone, a new number, and a few days later, a postcard arrived in my mailbox. No return address, no message, just a photo. A beach I'd once told Alora I wanted to retire on someday. On the back, one sentence: "You were always enough." I smiled for the first time in a long, long time. Maybe I didn't get the ending I expected, but I got peace. And after everything she put me through, that was enough.